And assuming I have the stream key and everything set up correctly, which I should, we should be live right now.
Are we? Oh, looks
And
like
we
we are.
are.
Yeah, I did it.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Who
Hello, guys.
do we have? Hi.
Hello.
We have.
Um,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So with me, there are the usual co-hosts that everyone's probably tired of. Andrew and Rob,
Yeah.
and then some shiny new people to play with. Cookie the animator and Don.Pablo the
I don't
concept
like the
artist.
sound of that.
Oh,
Man.
and Tyler. Happy birthday, Tyler.
Oh, yeah, it is Tyler's 18th birthday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Tyler. Um, yeah. Oh, hello, Umberto. Thank you all for stopping by. I know it's a very late, sleepy time stream. Um, not for our two lovely guests today. Um, it's actually
Nor me.
morning for
It's 7
them.
p.m.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you all for late or very early. And then we've also got our guest host with us today,
Possibly
Neevster.
future not guest
Maybe, I don't know.
host.
Who knows what the future holds?
um,
I definitely don't.
are we ready for some questions?
I think
Uh,
so. Up
sure.
to up to the artists, I'd say.
Yeah. You guys ready
Um,
for some
Always
lovely
ready.
questions? Always ready? Okay.
If it
um,
wasn't obvious from the delayed response.
Yeah.
so I asked them some questions in a couple minutes, but I thought a good thing to start off with was probably mostly Rob and Andrew. How'd you come up with the name Skymill?
Um, I did not do that. That was not me. That was entirely Rob. Rob,
Then Rob.
Would you like to tell him about the idea that you've had for actually years?
I guess so. Um, so the name Skymill comes from a a tabletop system that I wrote a couple years ago. Um, the name of which I won't say because it might end up being a future title for the company. But suffice to say that uh, in that game and in that campaign that I wrote and played with a group of friends, including Andrew and SM Tori, SM Wicket, let's see, Alex Fictus, and maybe Leia, and a couple others. Um, the Sky Mill was sort of an important part of that
Yeah.
particular tabletop game, and
Well, I mean, even much before that, you had still had the concept, like the idea in your head that you'd put in like everything that you made of
I
a
guess
floating
that's
windmill.
true.
Yeah.
We did for a long time. I would put like floating windmills in like whatever it was I was making. Um,
Everything.
yeah.
Uh-oh, Tyler figured out you guys are related. Your cover's blown.
Uh-oh. First person to ever figure that out.
Guess our cover's blown.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where SkyMill comes from, and the logo
Sounds
as
good.
well.
Yep.
Um, so easing into a bit more artsy questions. This is basically for anyone who can answer. What was the inspiration or idea that made you want to do split evolution slash forms?
Oh, sure. Well, that one I think was something that Andrew and I both talked about for um, a little while.
Mhm.
Um, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were looking at um, the things that were really common in the genre as a whole and how we wanted to um, like actually like push things forward instead of just keep things the same.
Spice it
Yeah,
up a bit.
I know
Yeah.
I really like the split evolutions.
Yeah, I think I feel like I've probably said this before maybe, but um it like the direct inspiration came from the Zerg campaign from
Oh yeah.
StarCraft 2, where each of your units you unlocked a mission that would like sort of give you uh like a really small little preview mission or side quest of like each evolution, and then you would be able to pick after it showed you the two different ones.
Mhm.
Um, and that was super neat to me. And I don't know, I've always just been a huge fan of like player choice and um, giving people uh, always like a decision or always an option to make based on
Right.
preference.
Yeah, it was the idea of like those forking paths um, from the StarCraft campaigns for different things that you could evolve in your Zergling or in your tech trees if you were playing Terran. And we thought that was cool that
Yeah,
yeah, you could have a Zerg unit, but you would have to commit to making it really really fast as an evolution, or I forget what the other evolution you could give it was because just going really fast was always really good.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that
Um,
was yeah. The campaign though went more into that. By the way, I absolutely didn't
Um,
forget to change the name of the
yeah,
stream.
I was about to say that.
No.
Also, welcome to new people. Corny Boy,
Oh, welcome.
Wolf,
Yeah,
Paramount.
yeah. Wow, it's 4 a.m.
Okay.
Jeanette, go to bed, please.
Okay. So, this is for Cookie and Don.Pablo. Um, what brought you to Skymill Studios, and have any of your OCs made their way into the game?
Don.Pablo, you want to take this one?
Pablo.
Well, it was around the 1st of July back in 2019 when I received a message from. He said that he was a developer from a game company. So at first I was really a bit skeptic whether I accept the offer. At that time, my fan request to draw for free during my time. So I was take it, but together with that message was a link of the very first teaser trailer, ooh, and I was like skeptic who. And the same day, I just go and went for it. So yes, with the same day, I said sure, let's do it. And then about the OCs, well, there are some of my own characters made in the game.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah.
Skulken was one of them. But
Oh.
yeah, actually, my very first work for the team is a concept art for him. So yeah,
Yeah. So you
What about sorry.
so yeah, I mean you Skulkin is your guy.
yeah,
Um
he was
yeah.
he was originally Sanku, but it was changed to Skulken, in which I don't mind because it sounded more logical and cooler.
Yeah.
Aw, well,
All right, so that's actually very weird because I figured Don.Pablo was around longer than I was.
it's pretty close, I
Yeah,
think.
it's definitely the same like month.
What brought Cookie to Skymill?
Oh, I got dragged in by a 3D modeler.
This is absolutely true.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Very
Right,
very thankful for that 3D modeler as well.
right.
Yeah.
So Rob actually commissioned one of my friends, Megan, to work on the on Auburn, I think, right?
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
So
3D
they
model for Auburn.
commissioned Auburn, Megan, to work on Auburn, and then I got dragged in to work on rigging the character, and then eventually Megan dropped off after the first character, and I ended up getting to work on every other character.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, unfortunately Megan is like after she did Auburn, it's like she wasn't able to due to her like, previous ongoing commitments. She wasn't able to do anything else for us, but we got you out of the deal, which is amazing.
You
Very
know,
thankful for that.
Yeah.
not just for the animation, but for the memes,
Yeah.
That's the real value.
Yeah.
That's really why we keep
which
Cookie
people
around.
might see if we have time.
Yeah. We've got
Um,
some memes that I would love for Cookie to be able to go over for all of you, and explain some fresh piping hot new dev memes.
yeah. Um, so next question. It's for Cookie and maybe Don Pablo if he can answer. It was asked by Andrew. How is working with Skymill compared to other studios or companies in the past?
Really just gonna out me like that?
Yeah.
So that was Andrew's question, huh?
Yeah. I wonder
Oh,
why. He'd have no reason to wonder.
No, I just
I mean,
Or-
it's definitely a lot more enjoyable. There's a lot more freedom that comes from working with more uh, personal developers. Like
Hmm.
in bigger studios, you'd be assigned a project, and then you don't get to talk to anyone else until you finish that project, stuff like that.
yeah.
Wow.
I'm not trying to fish for compliments, by the way. I hope that's not what that sounded like.
You can really tear into us if you want.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
We
Publicly
have no
tear into
Oh,
us. We
self-respect.
we do it all the time.
Rob is annoyingly nice. You could mistake him for a Canadian. So
Oh no.
As an actual Canadian, I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I'll let Neve be the judge if I should. I'll defer to Neve.
but yeah, so
Um,
the one company that I can compare it to is like what was that? Well, it was a nice company as well. It was 2014. I was working on Sausage Party, and
mhm. You were talking about that when you were in the voice chat.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Um, does Don Pablo have anything he can say about past studios or
oh,
no?
actually, with the so about it. What? What are you doing now?
You're kind of
Stuff like
cutting
that.
out.
So yeah, so it was actually my first time. I have really nothing to compare with, but the experience was really nice working with everyone
Yeah,
in Skymill.
Thank you.
sounds good. So for this is probably mostly for Don Pablo. What's the
Oh,
basic structure and ideology for making concept art for a Kinfolk?
big. Well, the design has to be actually functional, efficient, and it has to show personal individuality of each
Yeah.
character. So each part of the kinfolk should make sense and has a purpose.
Mhm.
If the character if the character can still function without a certain feature, we will just remove it or we'll just simplify it. So that's it has simple. It still shows about the
Mhm. That makes sense. Um, what's the workflow from concept on paper to fully implemented in the game? To anyone who can answer, so probably Pablo, Cookie, and Rob.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because it's sort of like it starts with Don.Pablo and then kind of moves on to Cookie and then more to me and even John after that.
Mhm. We'll start with Pablo then.
yeah. So some most of the time, Robin Wicked sends me reference photos how they want it to look like. Then refine, put emphasis
uh,
on the key parts of this character. From then it goes with the rough sketches and then iterations, and sometimes we go back and forth and adjust.
Mhm.
That's definitely the case. I mean, even I think probably the one that we've gone back and forth the most on was Gladius. I don't know how many
Yes,
revisions that one went through.
yeah. I was actually shocked. Oh, here's again.
Yeah. So was I, but story for another time.
Ooh.
that's
Uh,
actually surprising to me, considering Gladius was the easiest character for me to rig.
It's funny.
oh,
Yeah,
I can imagine she's probably the most humanoid character you've rigged so far, right?
most of the changes about color, s- some the belt placement lower and something like that.
Hmm.
Scholars.
Hi, Gym Leader Ed. Um, so after Pablo, it'll go to Cookie.
Oh,
The,
yeah. So usually what Rob does is he passes me the concept art, and I do a look over and see if there's going to be any problems before they start doing modeling of it.
Yes, that's very common. Um, and not to cut Cookie off at all, but a lot of times we'll even try to have a document with the concept art and references for various animations that we have in mind, especially if there's animations that we're thinking about that might sort of dramatically affect the rig for that character. That's all I wanted to say.
That makes sense.
But I don't want to cut Cookie off at all. I sorry.
Oh, no. That was a perfect explanation of how it goes. So I was just sitting back.
So
Are
after
there a lot of models that are really hard to rig?
Oh my god.
uh
Yeah,
Is that a yes?
sounds
I
like a
have spent
yes.
there are a couple like models that I spent many sleepless nights on.
I'm sorry, but thank you.
um,
I think the most problematic models are ones that haven't been showcased yet. I think. Oh wait, no, they have.
oh yeah.
Who was it? The Sea Serpent and the
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, that
Bacchanala.
one was tricky.
that one was very tricky. And there's an upcoming one that I can't talk about.
I think I know the one.
Oh boy.
um, yeah, that's going to be really interesting. Do you want to talk about the rig for Avion? I know that one was kind of a big undertaking too.
Oh, Avion, the that was the eagle, right?
Yeah.
Right. So Rob sends me a character reference sheet for an eagle, and he tells me to, oh, hey, go rig this model. It's a bird, but it has 4 wings, as if 2 wings aren't hard enough for animators to begin with.
Oh no.
Oh man.
Uh
All
I
right,
I
so
I
what
think I remember even with Simon, um, he was like, "Okay, so this bird has 4 wings. Do you want 2 separate models of it, and one with the wings open and one with the wings closed?" And that was something that like I hadn't considered at all. I guess I just sort of figured like it's got wings, birds, they just fold their wings up and it's all good. But from an animator's perspective, maybe not so much.
That was a nightmare.
oh no.
Yoshi's trying to get information on Andrew's baby.
Oh, my baby is only exists in concept right now.
Yeah.
um, okay, so after Cookie, concept will go to Rob, I guess.
To be
Yeah, so
implemented.
from there, at least this was very much like the what we did pre-Kickstarter. Um, is like once we had a rigged and animated model, I would have all the pieces that I would need to throw those all into Unity and break it immediately, to
Nice.
Cookie's demise or dismay. Um, Inevitably, I would have set some setting wrong, um, and have to come like crying to Cookie like, please, how do I set this up?
Yeah.
But we've got it we've got it working pretty well now, and thankfully John um, and Sheila take care of a lot of the implementation these days, which leaves Tori and myself free to write story and create like new reference sketches for all sorts of things, and
Business
focus on that kind of thing.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I meant to ask though, Cookie, what do you think is like the hardest model? Is it Avion or
Considering Avian is still undergoing rig changes,
Oh,
oh
Avian.
Okay. Well, I guess like I don't
I
know.
think that's fair.
A lot of people love like the work of Salamarder's animations and everything. I just like was that difficult at all, or
So can you clarify who was Sala Murder?
the lizard that opens its mouth and has the second mouth inside?
Oh, I think I was the one who worked on that.
Yeah, it
This
was.
That's actually true. I think if Cookie might have rigged that one, or it might
Oh,
have been
No,
Chris that
not
rigged,
even.
and not even rigging.
really?
So that one was, I guess that one was all Chris.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit about that one, because I remember that modeling it was very tricky because when you model something like that, you have to sort of model it in like a T pose, um, which means the head and all the pieces that are supposed to close and fit together need to be modeled so that an animator can close all that stuff and it matches up. Um, which, as you can imagine, just being the modeler is tricky because you don't know exactly how it's going to close. You're creating a statue that you're hoping the next person will be able to close just right, so that when it closes, it looks like the concept art on the outside, but you yourself have never seen it closed, so
Hmm.
it's very difficult.
Cookie, do you have experience making things fly? Like, is that an aspect that makes Avion difficult?
Sorry, I don't understand the question. Can you rephrase that?
Just are you used to animating things with wings, like Avion? Or
Not at
animating or
all.
rigging?
Oh, actually, I have done a couple of winged models after Avion, but that was after Avion.
Yeah, so that's probably a fairly
that
difficult
was
aspect too.
that was trial by fire then.
Oh boy. Huh.
um, all right, so Rob already kind of answered some of this in the last question, but for Rob specifically, what's your specific role in the process of Kinfolk creation, and at what step does it come into play?
Oh, sure. I guess to keep it sort of short, like Tori and I provide references at the beginning for the concept artists, and then um, some of the time we'll be doing the implementation, like taking all of the pieces once all of the artists have worked with them and put them into Unity and put everything together so that it's actually like usable in the engine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you're like influencing it every step of the way, though, right?
It's true. Tori and I work with each of the artists at each stage of completion for that particular asset. Um, but I don't know. That's more of the like that's part of the iteration stuff, I guess.
Yeah, but it's you're doing like art direction, you know?
That's true. It's just not as fun to talk about, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. But it's
Rob
not.
gets his hands in
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, it's not that you're like completely hands off. Like, here's this thing. I'll see it when it's finished.
That is true.
See you later.
Yeah. Hope the end product is good.
I think they would kill me if I did that, or maybe they would be like, "Finally,
Rob gets some sleep.
one or the other."
Yeah.
Um, so for Don.Pablo and Cookie, when making concepts or animations for Kinfolk, what's your main inspiration?
Sometimes by the character, how they, but
You're cutting
also
off. Sorry.
hello. So when I look at the character, especially when based on a think of how it's for wildlife, but the time it is natural. Tend to look other video, see how characters move.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a
Look up.
mashup other media.
Yeah, yeah. You look up how their counterparts would be.
Yeah, I'm searching for characters that have a similar role in the way they use their.
And what about Cookie for animations?
But for animations, what I tend to do is I go on YouTube and I watch a lot of animals. Like you would not believe how many eagles I've watched in the past month alone.
How many four-winged eagles have you watched?
Uh,
Just the one, way too much, or way more than you'd care to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's so challenging.
Uh, I do.
Yeah, as an animator, you must have to watch a lot of stuff on repeat.
I think that's kind of a given. Like, you need a lot of references to create believable animation, and if you don't have references, you kind of have to end up creating those references yourself. Like, for example, when we were experimenting with Ember, that was the first character we started animating for the project. I couldn't find any good references of bears or humans walking around because I didn't want it to be moving around like a human. So what I ended up doing was I set up a tripod at home with a video camera, and I slipped like two giant pillows on each arm because Ember has these giant arms, right? And I started walking around with giant pillows attached to my arms.
Wow.
That's creative.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know that you did that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I guess there aren't a whole lot of bears walking in two legs all the time.
Yeah, that's really amazing that you like create your own references. Huh. Tori just said in chat that's so cool. So I don't think she knew either.
Yeah, that's a lot of dedication.
Yeah.
So for anyone who can answer mostly, are there any completely scrapped concept ideas you can tell us about?
We might not have completely scrapped concepts that we can talk about just yet.
Mhm.
There's always the potential for that, but with how early on we are, it's kind of like everything is still fair game.
Mhm.
But there are, I would say, some like work in progress pictures that we haven't quite shown off before. At least I don't think.
Um.
What
So
about
certain,
any ideas that you entertained for a little bit and decided it wouldn't be a
There's
good idea?
there's definitely a few. At least I
yeah,
can think of that. Like, you start thinking of it in your head. Like, man, this is gonna be so cool. And then you're like, think about it more, and you're like, this is gonna be so dumb.
yeah. I mean, the one that always springs to mind for like ideas that we pursued briefly before dropping it, and when I say briefly, it could be like a matter of minutes that we entertain the idea, or maybe like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It depends on what it was, but um, for the combat, I know we were initially thinking that it would like suck the kinfolk into this sphere that would
Yeah.
miniaturize between the two like other players, and
Little
then that
like
would become,
snow globe.
yeah, almost like a snow globe or something that would float in the air, and then combat would like take place in miniature inside of that, and it would be like 3D sumo wrestling
Yeah.
rules.
It was like gonna
And
have smash rules for a bit where you're not trying to like kill each other, you're just trying to knock each other out of the arena.
yeah, it's like you had to get the other guy out of the sphere, and but you're on a floating platform, so you don't want to fall off the sides.
Yeah.
I like what you
Yeah,
settled with.
Yeah, and this settled with like the normal thing.
yeah.
Um
Sometimes normal is best.
yeah, and
Well,
then
that
there
was
were
one of the tricky things too. Is like we knew we wanted to do things different, but then you get like you run the risk of, okay, at what point is this too different, and we need to like pull the reins back and
yeah,
just try to be normal again.
there was
Well, it's kind
also
of like, sorry.
there was also the thing of like sort of evolving around that kind of idea where it was like a almost like a not a death barrier, but uh like this ring that would get like you would throw an item on the ground and it would like create this ring around your kinfolk and whoever it was that you're fighting, and then the ring would like slowly constrict battle royale style.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and like if you spent like 3 seconds outside of it, you would die. So it's the same sort of thing, but it's like it's almost like a battle royale between two people.
Right. Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to be careful to be original, but not too radical.
Right.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah,
Right.
I think there's a recent one that a design of, well, it's not a really a redesign, just a reimagination of how a certain part will. Yeah, from moving like a smoke, we just reimagine it into a flowing cloth-like material. Just that small part.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's a very good way to put it.
But yeah, the whole thing about not being too different is kind of like plot twists in movies. To be a good plot twist, it needs to be kind of expected. Um, if it's
Within the
just
realm of
random,
possibility.
then it's not going to actually be impressive.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
um, so, kind of building on that, for anyone who can answer, have there been situations where a kinfolk needs to be redesigned from scratch due to a technical limitation in the game?
Ah,
Hmm.
do you want to talk about who's currently in the oven?
Redesign from scratch.
Or almost from
Uh,
scratch?
I so far, I mean, Don Pablo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've had any where we had to completely start over.
I can't recall any we have to.
Yeah, I don't think so. Um,
Some minor,
well, sorry, go ahead.
some minor. No,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're talking about more like drastic, like I think the example that I'm thinking of is
yeah.
the scarecrow in the first teaser.
Well, with that one though, we didn't even have a concept really to start. It technically went straight to modeling. So even that one we can't say we redesigned from scratch. Maybe the closest that we've ever come to redesigning all over um, was maybe one of Auburn's or one of Ember's evolutions. Um,
Oh, I remember that first concept. Are we talking about the puddle?
yeah,
What looked like a
uh,
puddle?
there was we received some initial sketches from another artist for some potential Ember evolutions, and um, decided that wasn't the direction we wanted to go.
I think it
Uh,
was very due to certain circumstances. It had to be really rushed, and yeah,
so we ended up just working on other concepts
yeah.
and leaving that one in the oven for a while longer before we eventually had Don Pablo create um, evolutions for Ember, and those turned out great. I think that's probably the closest we've come to like a redesign from scratch.
What about any aspects of a kinfolk that you realized just wouldn't work in the game?
Oh, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
um, and like Don Pablo was saying earlier, even just having like a something go from being more smoky to more like a cloth. Um, those kind of decisions where we have to figure out if we can create the VFX for that um, in a way that makes sense. Um, so because some things transfer very differently on paper. Some things that you really take for granted. um, it's like, oh yeah, that should be no problem to model or create animations for or whatever it may be.
Like
Um,
the canite smoke.
exactly like canite smoke.
Yeah.
So certainly there's things like that that happen.
How many revisions did we make on those smoke models?
Oh wow.
Ongoing.
Well, we had the first revision, where we had the first attempt where um, it was just a static mesh, and it was just one mesh, and I think we tried to apply a like surface scrolling texture onto it as a VFX, and it just looked really rigid and it didn't quite work right.
Is that what was in the combat
Um,
teaser?
Not quite.
Okay,
This was the first try,
gotcha.
and then we were like, okay, um, we'll try to use a. I don't think we were even at the dissolve shader at that point. We tried something else. I don't quite remember what it was, and then we tried using a dissolve shader, and then we ran into a problem with the dissolve shader because it made it look hollow. Um, so we had to try that again and have like an inner mesh inside the outer smoke and use two dissolve shaders, um, and then that like kind of worked a little better but ran into the same problem. So we had to flip the inner one inside out so that it would like mask the parts that the outer one wasn't masking. And I I think I don't remember what it was that went wrong with that, but something else was wrong with that. And then we commissioned like a VFX artist, um, to just create a smoke VFX from scratch. We're like, please save us. And his reply to that was, "What you're asking for is impossible." Uh, so that was not a good sign. He gave it his best try, and it to his credit, it was not like a bad attempt. Um, I think it was decent, but we still ran into problems, which we might have actually now solved. Like we might be able to use his method now, but at the time we weren't able to because of partially because of the engine and partially because of um, I think it was the the particle system setup that we had. After that, we commissioned a separate VFX studio to make a smoke VFX, and we gave like extremely specific um, references and details about precisely what we were looking for. And this was a VFX company that has worked on um, several AAA games. The first one that comes to mind is Gears of War. So they really knew what they
Plenty
were
of smoke in
doing.
that game.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, cool. If anybody, like, if this is doable, these guys can do it. And we got so close, but we couldn't quite. We ran into a problem eventually with um, how shadows were interacting with the smoke, and basically it came down to the rendering pipeline of Unity would not allow for that method to work the way that we needed it to. And at that point, it was just about time to release the Kickstarter trailer. So we
Yeah.
switched to a solid, uh, just a solid blank mesh, and decided that we would revisit it after the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't personally know where exactly stuff like that goes out of the realm of animation and into VFX.
Yeah. I do want to just take a really quick flashback to like April or May of last year, where Rob comes to me and he's like, "Man, I'm really I love the way that K Knight looks, but like I'm so worried about if we can do the smoke or not." And then like the next day, he's like, "Hey, so Cookie just like whipped this thing up for me like on their lunch break, and it looks amazing, and I'm so excited. We'll be able to do it for sure. Not a problem. I love it. It's so great."
It was great.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Yeah. So
Sure, what are you guys talking about?
What's that?
What are you
the
guys talking about?
I think
There was a time a while back where um, I think you even did some work on the smoke, and
it was like when we first brought you on, I think. Like pretty soon. It was you
it might
were
it might have been like the very second implementation of the smoke.
yeah.
Um,
It was
and
it was early days.
it was yeah.
Navis guys in the chat says modeling is just deceptively complex.
Imagine doing 4D modeling. Yeah, Cookie, can you model stuff in the time dimension for us?
I'll have to check, but I don't think you guys can afford me doing that.
Okay, well, glad to know
Probably
that it's
not.
an option. Uh,
Um, Horizon is asking if there have been any concepts where the team has disagreed with like mixed opinions on its edition.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
absolutely. um, it's less so about, well, certainly we pitch ideas back and forth all the time about, hey, what if we added a monster that was like this, and we bounce those ideas off each other all the time. A lot of them like don't ever make it to the concept phase because that's that's a lot of work for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, but um, there's more frequently it'll be like we'll get a sketch back from Don.Pablo, and usually it's not just like a single sketch of a single character on a page. Um, it's usually like 3 characters or 6 characters or 9, um, and sometimes they have different attributes that they share. So most commonly we'll have disagreements about, I think we should go with the third sketch and use that as a base and kind of make iterations off of that. Whereas Tori or when we were working with Wicked on a couple of designs, you're just choosing those pieces that we wanted to keep and the pieces that we wanted to leave out for something else. So that does happen a lot. Which I'm
Mhm.
actually curious, Don.Pablo, um, from your side of things, um, are there times where you create like 3 options for a character for us, and you're like, oh man, I really hope they go with this one, or how do you go about choosing the sketches that you make?
Yeah, actually, most of the time I really have one preference among the three or six. Well, but I just one I really like one of them. I can
Uh-huh.
share my love equally. Yeah. So it doesn't hurt when the other one we're not sure. So I just implement some of the rejected ones designs, future designs, so I can cycle.
I think that's a great way to look at it,
Yeah.
and I always feel bad too because whenever we get like a sketch of 3, it's like, oh man, I'm sure he does have a preference for one of these, and
Yeah.
I hope we don't kill the one that he.
Yeah.
I always hope that we pick that one, but I know it can't always go that way.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great way to look at it, though.
Mhm.
Been no family feuds started over Kinfolk designs.
Uh,
Not yet.
not so far.
Yeah.
I will
There's
say
still
that
time.
Gladius and her counterpart um, were very challenging for Wicked and I to design because of how different they are from pretty much everything else. Um, we plan on those being the only characters that are as humanoid as they are, specifically because, as you guys know, they're based on like a king and queen chess piece. Um, so there was a lot of we wanted to be as careful with that as we could, and that was just it was a tricky process.
Yeah.
So those two are about as humanoid as you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's the plan.
It's
Yeah.
probably something useful for art contributors to know.
Yeah. Which Gladius is like pretty much just a human, so
um, okay, so moving on again to Cookie and Don.Pablo. What reactions do you hope the Kindred Fates community will have to the kinfolk that you've created? Is it memes, constructive criticism for the design, a Bork version, a Sonic version?
What I enjoyed most are the fan arts. Actually, I always
Mhm.
check the fan art channel whenever I have time. So there was really good art in there. I remember some of them. I really like Yoshi. Yoshi's art. Also, Whisker pixel art. Yeah, I really love the Gladius Gen 2 sprite.
Oh
Yeah,
They,
with
yeah.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Garrus has
that's
nice
yeah,
animations.
yeah.
yeah.
And there's two characters interacting. I really like that one too. Yeah, and the other one that comes to mind is Bottled Ducky. Yeah, the teapot head Kodoki. That was so
Uh,
cute.
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember
Yeah,
that one.
I really
Mm,
enjoyed looking at those.
I'm sure everyone
Like,
appreciates
ooh,
that.
they like it.
yeah. Yoshi, who's
So
in
thank you for everyone who makes fan arts.
yeah, Yoshi's in chat right now, and she says "daw" and then sobs.
Your art is good.
Uh,
Oh,
Cookie, do you like seeing what kind of memes people make?
I'm very particularly fond of the Sonic ones.
Yeah.
It's like I think they pop up every time. What when the Discord's inactive or like when the mods are asleep.
that
I
sounds
saw
about right.
I saw you try to instigate it. You said mods are asleep post Sonic memes.
uh, that's why we have Neve now, because Neve never sleeps.
Yeah. I caught Cookie and you know.
I mean, you
Wow.
can never have too many Sonic memes.
Yeah,
I think you're wrong.
We'll have them duke it out.
yeah.
Uh um so I'm curious about this. So we know the game's region is based on Switzerland, but were you considering any other inspirations before landing on that one?
Yeah, we were. We pulled up. I think when we were first looking for a location, we I think we knew that we wanted to have it be sort of more northern or cold or like
Mountainous.
mountainous. Yeah. So I think the three big ones that we were looking at was like the whole Alps region. We were looking at the northern fjords of Norway, and we were looking at the Faroe Islands. And
Mhm.
all three of those have some absolutely beautiful places.
I
Um,
love music from the Faroe Islands.
yeah.
We even like parts of the Faroe Islands, we still like reference occasionally. Um, there's just something about like how lonely um, some of the towns and villages are there
What do you mean
that
parts of the Faroe Islands? Do you know how big
the
those
whole the
are?
whole the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's beautifully lonely, and the setup for the villages where they seem so tightly knit. Um, and so we definitely use some of that as references occasionally, but certainly not to the same degree as we do places like Switzerland.
Yeah, I mean
Mhm.
specifically Interlaken. That's like the main. Yeah.
Have you
For
ever
the
heard their
geography,
music?
I can't say I have.
Might be a good inspiration.
I
Maybe.
think you just want us to
Um,
listen to the music.
I do. Um, so essentially, you were always kind of basing it off European-ish.
Uh, I
Ish,
think
yeah, for
I
this one.
think European just sort of fit. I remember looking in the Himalayas, but that's just not the same kind of geography. Like I was looking in Nepal or in like northwestern India, but it just didn't quite match what we
I
Horizon's
wanted.
remember
asking.
briefly. I remember briefly looking in China too
Yeah,
at a lot of the really crazy rock formations that are over there.
yeah.
Horizon's asking, will Hinterlock have terrain that makes no sense, like a desert in the middle of the UK?
It will not.
Huh.
That sounds targeted.
Huh. I have no idea what that could be referencing.
uh, oh,
That's something
and
that that factored into that a lot, though, is we wanted
Yeah.
mhm.
to find an area of the world that would encapsulate as many biomes as possible while still being natural, and that's part of why, um, like setting it in a mountainous region was so important is because you can have forests, you can have grasslands. If it's by the water, then you still get your coast. You can get
Yeah.
your
Valley.
tundra,
Yeah.
valleys, and caves, and even if there's I forget what it's called, but there's an effect where you can have um, a much colder area on one side of a mountain and then actually have a desert on the opposite side
Yeah.
because the mountains will create um, kind of a barrier for the climate.
That's
It's
what
something to do with the clouds. I forget what it's called.
that's what's happens in the western United States, right? With like California and the Rocky Mountains. Like one side's a lot
I
colder than the other.
it might be. It might be. I forget what the effect is called, but
Rain
um,
shadow effect, Tori says.
that is yes, it's the rain shadow effect. Um, I had a feeling Tori would come through for us on that one.
Yeah.
But
Tori
yeah.
also says he briefly considered Australia or New Zealand.
New
Oh,
Zealand
New
sounds
Zealand.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't think
yeah.
Australia has any mountains other than like Tasmania.
I don't remember considering Australia, but we might have.
New Zealand kind of looks like British Columbia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm probably really gonna like the terrain. Um, so, oh, I remember this is a question from Umberto. Um, is there an aspect of Kindred Fates that has you really excited, but you don't see many people talking about it? If so, what would that be? That's for anyone who has anything to add.
I'm curious what the artists have to say about this.
Uh, I'm not quite familiar with what we're adding so far. I'm just focusing on the animation side. But if there was anything I would want added to the game, it would be like maybe a cooking scene.
Well, it's
Yeah.
asking, is there an aspect that has you excited, but you don't see people talking about it?
Like something that you either you work on or that you're excited for the game, but most people don't seem to be like excited for that
Or
specific
at least
aspect that you
don't
are.
really mention it much.
I think it's kind of weird because we're in a position where we've basically shown what we have on the trailer, and everyone's tearing the trailer apart for details. So there's no aspect that isn't going unseen. They're even noticing like the animation errors, and I'm just like, cover that up, cover that up.
Uh,
It's absolutely true. Um, we really do we put everything in the Kickstarter that we had.
yeah.
So it
And
you
some
know
things we didn't.
but everything that there's been a lot of new stuff post Kickstarter, but
Yeah.
certainly it's the majority of what we have was on display there.
Yeah.
It's probably a pretty popular opinion, but one of the biggest things for me is the real-time combat.
Yeah. Well, everybody is talking about that. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
me personally, it probably I don't think I've seen people talk about AEI or the advanced environment interactions as much as that's a huge thing for me. Like the sheer number of possibilities that I hope we're able to incorporate with that.
I don't think much has been said about that
Yeah.
It's
so
true.
much.
Don.Pablo, do you have anything specific you have in mind?
Well, actually, I share thoughts most of the majority, but I really just enjoyed looking at the Kinfolk moving. Uh, that's a full course meal for me. I think that's enough for me for a day.
uh,
Just looking
That's
at the animations, the
yeah.
ones that are, oh my gosh,
We had a really big batch of new animations show up. I think even just
yeah.
today, if you saw those.
Oh,
Fresh
I
out of the
really
oven.
I haven't looked at
enjoyed
those
it.
today.
Yeah, yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I
Actually,
can
I was.
save a full video of them just moving.
Uh, he's Don Pablo. If when he plays the game, he's not gonna do any story or anything. He's just gonna walk in circles
Yeah,
and just be like, "Wow."
exactly.
I actually do that in games sometimes, especially like running up and down stairs. It blew my mind when I was playing Ni no Kuni 2, and like the animation actually changes when you're running downstairs.
Yeah, foot
Um,
tracking IK. We had that for a brief
yeah,
time before it
We did.
broke.
It did.
It did definitely break.
we did, and it
Those
did.
break so much.
Yeah.
Um, I we don't know that much about them yet, but I'm also really excited for the bonding activities.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um, especially if there's cooking.
Yeah.
Um, so Horizon's asking, will the terrain of Hinterlock be accurate or realistic, or will there be some aspects of the region that are more grounded in fantasy or fiction?
I think
For the most
mostly are
part,
accurate or
yeah,
realistic. Yeah.
yeah, we stick pretty close to keeping things as realistic as like what makes sense. Um,
What about Kinfolk can maybe alter their environment?
well, that
AI.
certainly does happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of the environmental interactions and the things that can occur there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, the game is set in like a modern setting, but naturally, with it having kinfolk in it, or these monsters that are running around, it's kind of a low fantasy,
Yeah.
or like a light fantasy, if you will. So
As much as it would
not
make sense to have.
yeah, yeah. So not totally unreasonable to think that you might run across some other things that might be a little outside of normal, but for the most part, we want to keep it grounded in like the real world.
Yeah.
Yoshi's asking about floating islands.
Oh, these are dangerous questions to be asking,
You know,
Yoshi.
I actually don't know the answer to that, but I would wager yes, just based on how much Rob loves floating islands.
It's my track record certainly seems to indicate so. We'll see. I'll confirm that there's currently no floating island currently, but
Wink.
it's
There
not
is a
hard to
ticket
tempt
to
me.
an island.
There is. This is true.
Yeah, wonder ticket.
Um. Okay. Next question to kind of end this section off. It's a question Andrew's been wondering for years. It's for Rob. Do you want to ask it, Andrew?
Yeah. Why do you smell so bad? Gosh.
Um, well, it's gotta be if I have to pick one reason. I'll go with beard, I guess.
Okay,
Um,
that's fair.
so when you have a mustache or a beard, it just sort of gets in the way of your nose, and you try to smell things, but you're really bad at it, and because it's always getting in the way.
Yeah.
As much as shampoo and clean the thing, 3 times a day compulsively, you're just still bad at smelling. All you can
Yeah.
smell is like how clean it is all the time.
Because I'm
And
getting really frustrated that I'm trying to show you my candle collection and you're not able to
yeah,
give valuable input.
it's devastating for me too. I spend way too much time picking out candles at White Barn looking for ski lodge candles, and I'm always disappointed. Nothing ever smells like ski lodge from the year 2015, but maybe someday. Um, but with this facial hair, it's just too hard.
Tori says he actually does look for ski lodge candles in White Barn, and I can confirm that as well. There is a specific scent of candle he's been looking for years.
It's been
And
gone. It
Rob
literally.
has a beard.
Rob has a majestic beard.
your nose also might be broken from the can of Axe body spray you empty every morning.
Onto
Oh, is that so?
yourself, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what can you
It's,
do?
Yeah.
it's news to me.
Yeah. Alright, next question.
Wait. Go back to the beard thing.
You didn't know that Rob had a beard? That's like 2/3 of his
Look at his profile
personality.
picture.
Have you spoken with Rob? He comes off as a clean cut kind of guy.
No,
You know,
He really
I,
doesn't.
you know what? Everybody came here for like exciting stories from the artist, and they absolutely are getting that. But now I'm gonna shatter. I'm gonna make this like awful for everybody and admit that I go between bearded and clean shaven.
Wow.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I like to forget when you're clean shaven because
Yeah.
it takes active repression.
Here's what actually happens, okay? Is I grow the beard out for as long as I can stand it because I'm lazy and because I have things I'm working on and because taking care of it takes time and I just don't care that much. And eventually it just gets to be like annoying and I just cut the whole thing off.
Why
And
don't you
it's
just get an
easy.
electric clipper that will cut it to the length you want?
I do have a great one. It's really nice. I like it, but it's I don't know. It's just work, and sometimes it's just you have enough, and you're like, all right, I'm getting rid of all of it, and then a week later it's hell again. But that's how it goes.
Thus is the infinite cycle.
Yeah.
All right. Save some testosterone for the rest of us.
Rob has a beard.
Cookie's still stuck on that.
Most of the time, currently I do. It's not like a huge beard either. I feel like people
It's
think I have this giant beard.
no,
Here, ripping up on the microphone.
it's like a miniature otter clung to your face.
Not even a little bit. No.
All right,
Um,
Cookie, are you ready?
Like Aragorn from Return of the King.
Okay.
Um,
Rob has a beard.
um I'm sorry.
Do you need to take a few seconds to just sort of like do some soul searching?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. For anyone who would be interested, any devs, would you be interested in having a devs versus community showdown in the combat arena? I assume that's yes, considering you annihilated people in Smash.
Oh yeah, we absolutely
Absolutely.
will be doing that
Yeah, like
without a doubt.
that's a guarantee.
Like the day the alpha comes out,
You
if the
can-
servers are permitting.
bet your bottom dollar. You can take that one to the bank.
That's my only dollar.
Yeah. Well, you got it.
Uh,
You betcha.
Dragnaran says if anyone
You
beats a
can-
dev, they get to be a dev instead, and I think that's a very
Yeah, that's
good way
how it
to do
works.
hiring.
Like that's how I became a dev in the ARC stream.
Yeah.
We can't wait to like play against everybody and have you guys surprise us with how you end up playing the characters and maybe surprise you with things that you didn't know the characters could do.
Yeah. Like cheat codes. I
Um,
mean, what?
Wow, I didn't know you could slash no clip.
Uh,
Are you gonna take out your anger on everyone every
Anger.
time they asked you for reveals?
Oh no. I can't be mad at some people for what I would only do if I were following a game.
Yeah. So
Helium bear.
for Don.Pablo and Cookie, this might be interesting for other artists. How did you go about getting started and getting experience in your respective fields? Any advice for those on similar career paths?
Cookie, do you want to take that one first?
Do you need me to repeat?
What? No, I heard the question. It says, I guess what you want to do is just you want to keep doing what you want to do.
How
Like
did you
for
get
me,
started?
that would be in animation, and the way I started was that I just posted a couple of TF2 animations, like SFM animations, and then I moved on towards personal stuff, but I never stopped doing the SFMs. And yeah, I guess just keep doing what you do, and then maybe try to find a way to get your name out there. Like keep talking to your friends. Get. I guess for me, it's always been that there was some other animator or someone in the industry who would pull me into another gig. In this case, that was Megan.
So it's important to have like a nice social circle in some ways.
Connections.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, Horizon also asks if your SFMs are available to watch on YouTube.
No.
No, okay.
Fastest
Um,
nope in the West.
And you done, Pablo?
Uh, but I can see those career is to look for you know, to look for people whose work will fit work doing in the future. Then build yourself towards that person, towards their skill. Then don't just make art for the sake of making, but make one artwork uh, a step. And in that process, expose yourself. You have to share it to different. So in those times, you pursue consistent improve, growing. The following, the connections in the come along with it. So just focus on how you find what you're good at.
I think we lost you on the last part there, but the rest of that it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
hmm
Finding work that you want to match your work to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
have a good
gotcha.
inspiration. Can Pablo still hear us? I just want to make sure he's not dropping off.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Um, Horizon asked a bit above if there's any like a bit more about the Alpha Arena. Is there any particular issue that caused it to get delayed, or is it just a general mix of uneasiness of the amount of content
Yeah.
you had already?
I think one of the things
Um,
is that we gave the August date when we first did the Kickstarter. Of course, we didn't know that
Yeah, you hadn't
AI
reached the
and
stretch goals.
co-op, was getting in, so we had to restart things with those systems in place so that
yeah, I would say that um, the second part of that is definitely one of the biggest contributors. Um, uh, Needing to literally rebuild the entire game from scratch so that it could actually support co-op um, was a
Yeah.
pretty big change. Not gonna lie,
yeah,
but John and Sheila are extremely talented developers, and
yeah,
they've really pulled through for us on that. Um, and for a really long time, it was looking like we would be just fine for the August um, date anyway. I think what kind of added to that is we we kept our team like pretty tight knit for a while too, and so all of the work that was being done on the game was in like I mean a pretty we're still a pretty small team, but we we hadn't really been affected too badly by any of the COVID stuff. But as we started to like hire on more concept artists or um, um, people for other positions, um, those things did start to become affected um, with those new positions that we needed. So that set us back a little bit too.
but nothing
Yeah,
nothing
when
huge.
you reached all your goals, I figured you might not be able to reach a date so soon.
Yeah,
Especially when you have to, I guess try to put yourself in our shoes too. Like before you even have a single backer, you have this community and they're really excited and passionate about the game, um, but you really have no clue how many of them are willing to be backers for it, and there are very few like examples to go off of. Um, our best examples were like Temtem and Monster Crown and Monster Sanctuary, which while still monster battling games that had their own Kickstarters, are very different games in their own right, and very different games from Kindred Fates, and all with different sizes of communities. So it was like you know uh, it was just really hard to say what kind of backing it would see. Um, and so and then Kickstarter also requires you to give a specific month that you will release everything on.
Yeah.
Um, every given reward. Um, and I mean, you can ask any like developer um, that's in a pre-alpha state, like, okay, when are you going to be ready to release something to the public from out of pre-alpha? You have to give a specific month.
I don't
Good
know.
luck. It's
Or
like,
else we're
well,
sending the pitchforks.
we can,
Yeah.
yeah, like we can give a window, but there's any
Yeah.
number of things that could, even separate from the rewards, that could change as far as development. Just like you run into difficulties while building things that you didn't expect,
Yeah.
and you know that you can work through them, but it's just difficult to say how long that will take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Separate
Thank you
from.
for announcing the delay.
Yeah.
Of course.
Other people appreciate it.
Yeah, I had been saying fall for a while. I had specifically not said August, it said fall, to try and taper expectations towards that sort of window, but yeah.
Yeah.
Were you
Run.
gonna say something, Andrew?
Yeah, I was just uh, along the lines of things you can't anticipate. Um, One of my nightmares personally is something that Hello Games went through, which is like they went home for Christmas and then there was a huge amount of flooding, and thankfully they had a whole bunch of stuff like saved on a server, but all of their like laptops and computers were flooded, and that is, oh
Yep.
my gosh, is that a nightmare?
Yeah. Luckily, we have source control.
Yeah, I don't know, just
So
stuff like that.
yeah. No, but it's a totally valid point. I think actually, um, pre-Kickstarter, we had source control, but only for like the stuff that was actually in engine.
It wasn't all
Anything
of it.
that, yeah, like there were there was a ton of artwork that wasn't specifically in engine. Um, and like if something had happened to one of our computers around that time, it would have just been gone. Um, or we'd have to go crawling back to an artist and say, please, please, please tell us that you have a copy
Yeah.
of this still. But luckily, we have
That
we have everything backed up.
that's kind of interesting because it wasn't like 3 months ago when I lost like my hard drive.
Yeah.
Oh
So
no.
we would have both been going to each other, going, "Please tell me you've got
Uh,
copies of this."
Oh no.
Server
Did you lose
saving.
anything important, Cookie?
Luckily, I was able to salvage the hard disk, so Rob wasn't too stressed out.
Good.
It all worked out.
That's
Yoshi's wondering what the updated number of people on the team is.
Good question. Let's see. I've got our other channel open here.
two,
It's
three,
been a while since I've
five,
like counted them all up.
6, 7,
This
9.
isn't even technically everybody here, but
What is that, like roughly
There's
22?
also some people who aren't technically part of Skymill too, right?
Yeah.
that have helped out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say getting close to 25 now from my guess, looking at the. Yeah. Would you say that's right, Rob? Like
That's
25?
roughly, yeah. We're pretty close to that.
Yeah.
I like we 25, give or take, like 2 or 3.
There's also like an animator, a rigger, and a modeler that isn't on this list anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like people that have done stuff for us but are no longer part of the project.
Or they did like a bunch of work for us for a while, and then other things came up for them, and so now they're working on like those projects full time. And but we'd love to have them back if they're ever available again. There was
Yeah.
an animator and rigger that we worked with for a while that I think did a great job. So
I love them. I miss them.
oh no, I'll send him a message again. I'm glad to hear you say that.
Someone's curious if any scrapped Kinfolk designs will ever be shown off post-release.
Absolutely, yes. In
Sounds
fact,
good.
that's
Mystic
something that you
Journal.
can look forward to in the digital art book for sure.
Yeah.
Oh
But,
yeah, yeah.
but, if you can't wait until that happens, I did send Andrew a picture of some we'll call it quote unquote scrapped designs, but really they're just more early versions
Oh.
of a kinfolk you guys have seen already.
Oh, when
Maybe
did you
that'll
send this to me?
maybe that'll hold you over for a little.
Yeah, let me. Do you want me to go ahead and throw this up?
You can throw that up on the stream if you like, sir.
Okay. Well, I choose no then.
Oh, well,
Um,
sorry guys, you heard it from the community manager.
yeah. No. Um, oh,
Show it.
jeez. Oh, that's. Oh, I love how OBS puts things on the very top. As soon as you. Okay. Oh, jeez. That's not even great. Um, boy.
Now the middle guy is getting buried.
Oh,
It looks like he's being
fine.
drowned by the paper.
He's like, somebody help. All right, there we go. Yeah, so that's Bakinawa.
Yeah, some early concept art that Don.Pablo did for that. Don.Pablo, do you want to talk about some of the stuff on the page?
Yeah, so actually made for own digital tablet. So I was pretty poor back then. So yeah, that's what was on paper. So that design was actually my own one of the instructions that Rob make the dragon shorter. So I just made more simple design. So you could different heads and body types, different kinds of tails. Which one will look best for that?
Yeah.
Do you prefer to sketch on paper, Pablo?
Actually, I miss drawing on paper, but digital is way more faster, especially
Yeah.
when there's some small tweaks in design. You don't have to erase all over again. So yeah, was it was it was good old days.
I think some of our favorite concepts were we first saw them on pencil and paper.
Yeah,
Um,
Auburn K Knight.
so I would even say the NPCs that
Yeah,
Pablo sketched up for us.
Yeah.
well, I think I started using tablet at Doki.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Then started.
I still have a couple more questions written down.
Sure.
All right.
Um, so last one for Cookie. Um, having worked in the film animation industry, what would you say are the key differences between that and the game industry?
Oh, I think the key difference is that the preparation of the models for animation is very, very different. Like
Mhm.
when you're working on an animation in the film industry, you can get away with a lot of things. Like if you want to cheat stuff, if you want to have two copies of the same model in the scene, or if there's something you just don't want to deal with because it's broken, you just leave it there anyway because no one's gonna check. But like when you're working on an animation for a video game, everyone's going to be looking at the same thing from different views, different angles, and then
Yeah, it has
things
to look
break.
good everywhere.
Yeah, and you also have to make sure that everything works in the game engine that you're working on. Like in film, you can get away with waiting 3 hours for a liquid calculation or like for smoke simulation, but when it comes to a game engine, everything has to be working real time, and you need to kind of wrap your head around thinking how those things work.
Hmm.
Huh.
Um, it's also important to limit the amount of bones in a game animation, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
So it doesn't lag it out.
Yeah, there's a couple of models where we had to take out a bone or two, or well, someone was suggesting we use more bones, and I just didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Oops, no bones.
Oh, we might see what happens when there aren't any bones in a few minutes.
Oh.
Do we have an example of
Is
what
that
it
a
looks
is
like
that a
when they?
segue?
Well, first, the most important question is asking everyone what their favorite pretzel dips are.
Oh, is that the last question?
Yeah.
Are we already there?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
People dip their pretzels?
Yeah, I've never even had a warm pretzel. So,
So
Well, that's tragic.
Neve, would you like to start off with what is your favorite pretzel dip?
did you just hear me say I've
Well,
never had a warm
look,
pretzel?
even if you don't have them warm, you can
Okay,
still dip your
I-
pretzels and stuff.
Look, Neve,
I
the mob
don't.
is gonna lynch you if you don't
Yeah.
pick a dip.
I definitely totally love pretzels. It's not that I dislike them at all.
Ooh.
I really like cheese dips for other things. That's a thing for pretzels, isn't it?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. Is that
Cheese
is
dip
that a
is
thing
good
that
choice.
happens?
That's a good choice.
Yeah, okay.
No one eats pretzels with cheese, right?
No, that's a very common thing. That's like the most common topping.
At least in America, it is.
Yeah.
That's what we're used to.
America and I think Germany too, right?
I can't say. It might maybe they like mustard in Germany for their
Yeah.
pretzels.
What does
How about-
Pablo think about pretzel dips?
Yeah.
Wait, so explain to me
Yeah.
the whole dipping process. Like, why?
I don't know, it's condiment, you know?
I guess I mean, usually you get your pretzel, your Auntie Anne pretzel or whatever it is, from your greasy mall, and you tear it apart and
Yeah, you like
just
break
kind
a
of
piece off, yeah.
yeah. Well, except you're a barbarian because you're like buying pretzels in a mall and you've
Oh.
lowered your standards to that point. And it's going to be a good day. You've decided. Um, so you like tear a piece off and you're like, yes, this is my happiness for today. And you like jam it into the tiny plastic cup of cheese that you've been allotted, and you're like, yeah, that does marginally that gives it a little more flavor
Oh
because
boy.
otherwise it's just like bread and salt. But with that cheese going on,
It's
now
not
there's a
just
little more.
stale bread and water.
Now you've got some cheese lava to contend with.
Yeah, you've got a second flavor.
Okay, so that's interesting because I do purchase my pretzels from Auntie Anne's, and I never had pretzel with dip.
Huh.
Really? Huh. Well, I gotta say I do think that some cheese fondue goes a
Yeah.
long way for a pretzel too.
Yep.
What about Pablo?
Well, the thing is, we have no pretzel.
Oh.
No, I, I, no.
Have you ever dipped bread
Pretzel.
in anything?
Uh, Milk.
Milk. Okay.
Yeah.
I
I'll
know
have to
something that
try
they do
that.
in China sometimes is to dip some kind of bread in hot soy milk.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't know. Because you gotta dip everything in everything, just at least once.
I mean, I've never understood dipping cookies into milk, so.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to
But
send
how?
everybody pretzels.
There's a quick question. Drag asked if there's an ETA on community contests.
Um. Yeah.
I actually had some ideas for those.
I did too.
We've been talking over community contests some more.
Is there an ETA for that, Rob?
Not officially
Okay.
yet,
Not officially then.
but it's
It's being
definitely something.
discussed.
Yeah.
It's
For
being.
So
sure.
I want to
Yeah.
get into this because I have a very good idea for a contest.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. So do I.
It in,
Get
it
in line,
involves
Cookie.
it involves kinfolk recipes.
Ooh.
Oh. I don't
This is
think that's what
I
I
don't think
first thought it is.
we have not had an idea like that quite yet. I'm interested in this.
I I would ask you to specify, but I'm scared of the answer.
Well, I don't think they have access to kinfolk with which to cook, but I can imagine that one might create a recipe based on a
But
kinfolk.
there you go, assuming.
You know, certainly I have no place assuming um, the genius mind of Cookie.
Yeah.
I will defer to Cookie on that.
I think I think there's a very particularly small group of people on the Discord who are capable of working on such concepts.
I
It's-
maybe could. Um,
How do you like your Bakinawa filleted?
how do you like your bakinawa? Flame broiled or grilled?
That's a reference.
I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the future.
Hopefully
Yeah.
not.
Um,
Um.
so what does a kinfolk look like without bones?
Oh
The
yeah.
bones.
Oh.
Well, haven't you seen Costrix?
Uh. So yeah. Let's. I will pull these up. One by one. I think there's was there 4 of them. And Cookie, if you could just like run these down for us, give a bit of an explanation as to why. Um, yeah. So the first one here I have titled Ember Walkin'. Let's just pull him up here. Would you like to explain exactly what's going on here?
I don't see anything wrong with this.
I'm not seeing anything. Hold on.
Oh,
Might have to refresh.
Oh. Oh. Okay, so this is Amber using Auburn's run cycle.
That is exactly what it is. Yeah.
you've seen you've seen the long burn, but have you seen the short burn?
So Cookie, is this not what you did when you were running around with the tripod outside?
Definitely
This is one
not
of the
what-
references you created yourself.
Maybe not quite. We
Uh,
actually had something similar to this happen pretty recently, but with Kodoki. Um, we use Ember's animation controller as kind of a base for all the other animation controllers that we make, and just sort of replace Ember's animations with whatever character we're working on. In this case, it was Kodoki. And Tori and I were so excited that we had just gotten him to run around the same way that we had the other characters running around, and it was so smooth and it was working great. And then we jumped,
oh no.
and we had not set up. We did not put in Kodoki's jump animation.
Do you have that for me?
I I will get it to you,
Okay, so not now,
but soon.
okay. All right, all right.
And yeah, so because we didn't put Kodoki's animation in there, he still jumped. Um, but he used Ember's jump animation, and
Oh,
let me
that must
tell
be terrifying.
let me tell you, those bones are a little different.
It's a bit of a size difference.
A little bit.
Okay. So moving
We'll
on.
just have to see.
We've got uh, this was a bug that became a meme that just made me appreciate Cookie so much more. So this is the original bug. Um, I've dubbed it the slow stag melt.
No bones.
Yeah, just sort
Well,
of
there he goes.
yeah, just
Now I'm curious, what causes something like that?
Damon's.
That's what happens when you slip.
Yeah.
So what we were actually trying to set up here was I was trying to do like an auto solver for the legs of the character so that the animators wouldn't have to do so much work while animating four-legged creatures, right?
Oh.
Oh.
So like there would be like a node in the background that's doing the computations for the legs, but I hooked it up wrong, and it ended up affecting the whole thing.
It
So
affected it, huh?
this is less work for the animators. Okay, so I made a comment about how horrifying this was in the dev Discord. And then you said, "Oh, you think that's horrifying?" And then you sent me this.
Oh
So,
man.
Very
You
good.
could just see parts of the model like separating too.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
blubber.
Simon
As if
just being
the
like, "What did you do to my boy?"
what have you done?
Uh,
Don't
Simon
talk
and
to me or my
Don.Pablo
son ever
both.
again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, what's going on here, Cookie?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
You have to.
Well,
You have to honor his
the
death.
natural progression.
Yeah,
I
so
think.
I said that I thought that the previous thing was horrifying. Um and then Cookie sent me one of the best messages I've ever received, which is, "Don't you touch that dial now. We're just getting started." And then the heavens opened up, a ray of light shines, and then I received this wonderful GIF. What's better than one?
Oh no.
But why not an
The
entire pile of shredded deer?
the
So
ring
yeah.
comes off. The halo.
So does the head, the ears.
It like
Oh,
rips off.
deers and deers and deers.
Oh, and its head looks like a puppet.
Yeah.
So you guys were talking about Bakunawa fillets.
Yeah, how do you like your deer uh Yoshi asks a very important and good question. How and why?
Oh, I can't get over when the halo and the head comes off.
I think
Yeah.
to answer Yoshi's question, the same way Andrew answered it previously. I think it would be demons and demons.
Yeah. Three of them
This
to be
is
exact.
this is
Yeah.
what happens when you sin.
Yeah.
Was this before or after the Kickstarter trailer? Because I cannot, for the life of me, grasp why I did this.
I'm gonna guess either boredom or uh yeah.
Yeah.
Horrifying
um,
stuff like this is the best time to have a sleepy time stream.
Yeah.
this is true.
I
I
hope you all are enjoying the Sleepy Time stream.
I too once asked Cookie a super normal question, very definitely normal, and got an amazing response. Although we might need to wait until a little later stream uh, to talk about that one, since it mostly involves a as of yet unrevealed kinfolk. But suffice to say, the rig for that one will be very interesting.
Oh
Are
boy.
you a fisherman? Because you seem pretty skilled with bait.
Well, we gotta keep the people in the stream somehow.
Judging by the view count. Okay. Well, that's enough
But
of that.
that's a whale of a tale for another day.
That's a whale of a tale. Ooh boy.
Um,
Were those words chosen specifically in reference to what you were referencing?
I don't know. Maybe in reference to something that I'm not
Ooh.
at liberty to
Ooh,
discuss.
but you are. You are literally. You decide what you are at liberty to discuss or not.
Then I will defer to future Robbie's judgment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, you heard it here first. Um, Rob hates us.
Um, Pablo, how are you after seeing your babies get mutilated like that?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
How do you like your deers scrambled?
Shaken not stirred. Oh,
Oh
wow.
no.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't see
we'll
that in the personality sketch.
I don't remember seeing that in the personality and action chart. Yeah,
Uh,
but
wow.
we'll certainly do them justice in the full game,
Yeah. Oh
or
boy.
even maybe sooner.
Maybe soon. Yeah.
Maybe sooner.
Maybe sooner. Okay. Well, does that about wrap us up for Kindred Talks 5, the Sleepy Time edition?
I think so. Are people sufficiently sleepy?
They better be. I certainly am.
Have we lulled you all into a state of comfort?
And then broken that comfort with horrifying memes.
Rob, I think you need to tuck everyone in before you leave.
Yeah. Give all 25 of them a kiss on the cheek and, read 'em a story and send them off to bed.
All right. Stay safe, everybody. Call your mom and eat your vegetables.
Yeah. That.
In what order? Can I
Uh,
do them at the same time?
path of least cost.
Okay. All right. Good night, everybody, or morning, depending on where you are. We
Thanks
will.
everyone for coming, especially Cookie and Don.Pablo.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much for
much, both of
joining
our
us.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thanks
guests.
having
for
us.
having us.
It's been great. All right. Well, we will see you guys all later. Bye.
All right. See you
Bye.
guys.
Night.